Kakadosh Boker or Masechet Menahot Daf Yomi Daf Pei Amud Aleph 80a1. We're going in the Gemara where we were just speaking about a few lines down, where we're talking about right now Avlad Todat Chova. Okay, Ela Avlad Todat Chova. We're talking about now 2, 4, 5 lines down, where it's talking about the Vlad of a Todat Chova. Right before kapara, you need the bread. Right, but after the kapara, you don't need the bread. My kamash malam, what's coming to teach you? The kasav Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan says, "Adam mitkaper b'shat hekdesh," which means a person could be yitzedek chova his neder also on the vlad of a todah, even though he was not magdish the vlad right by itself, right, but rather with the mother, obviously, and the vlad is only considered a shevach of hekdesh, the appreciation of the hekdesh. So therefore, if you're first going to bring the vlad, which is a child, you are mitkaper through it as well. And therefore, it's going to be considered a todah, and therefore, what? It requires bread as well. So, Havi banami Abaye ki gavna. So says Abaye, is that maskara, right? So therefore, that's what he says. Yeah, itmanami was actually right stated. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak bar Yosef, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, chilufei todah nidava ben lifnei kapara ben lacha kapara. Whether it's going to be before kapara or after kapara, it requires bread. Marbe betodot, it's considered marbe betodot. Vlad todah nidava ben lifnei kapara ben lacha kapara. Whether it's before the kapara or after the kapara, and ton lechem, it doesn't need lechem. Motar de todah, because it's considered motar todah. Vlad todat chova. We're talking about the vlad todah v'chova. Lifnei kapara, if it's going to be before the kapara, you need bread. After kapara, you do not need the bread. So Amar Shmuel says, Kol shebechatat meta betoda en tuna lechem. The kol shebechatat ro'a betoda tuna lechem. You remember we learned this already in many different mesechtot. There's a concept of that sometimes the chatat has to graze until it gets a blemish, and once it gets a blemish, that's it. Other times we actually come and we have to make it die. So we come, we put it in a place, we make sure that it doesn't have any food, and therefore it's going to die. So one of the examples, if you remember, was a chatat shemetu be'alea, because if a chatat, the owners died, so therefore they can't bring it anymore. So if the owners brought this chatat, and the owners died, so now you can't bring it anymore, so therefore it's called chatat meta. So Shmuel comes and he gives a general rule. The general rule is, any case of a korban where the chatat has to die, so then to do the korban todah, you don't have to bring bread. Okay, but if it's going to be a case where the korban chatat, it's not that it has to die, it has to graze until it gets a blemish, then in the korban todah, you do need bread. Okay, so says the Gemara, right? Metiv Rav Amram. Rav Amram comes and he asks the following question. Ma'u omer, what does it mean in the pasuk todah yakriv? Right? What does that mean now? You're going to bring the korban, the todah. Minay lemafrish todato ve'avda. What happens if you come and you separate a todah and it gets lost? Vifrish acheret tachtea. And now you're going to separate another one instead of it. Venimset rishona, and you find the original one. Vareshten omdot, and both of them are in front of you. Minayin shezemen shirtzeh. How do you know you could bring whichever one you want? We already learned this before. You could bring whichever one you want. Yakriv. When it says yakriv, velachma ima. How do you know you could bring whichever one? Since it said yakriv, you could bring whichever one that you want, and you bring the bread with it. Tamulomar todah yakriv, right? Since it's written the word yakriv, you have the choice. So you choose, right? You have two animals right in front of you now. You choose whichever one that you want. So yachol shniya teuna lechem. I would have thought to say that now the other one still requires breads. Tamulomar yakriven nu. Remember, you have to bring it and not something else. So echad velo shnaim. Only one of these animals require the breads, not the second one. Now, to do the chatat, vilu legabe chatat ki gavna. Right? What happens? What happens if you separated a chatat and then it got lost? And then you come, you separate another one. And all of a sudden now you have both of them in front of you. What's salacha? Right? In this case, it's not meta, it's ruah. You have to wait until it grazes and gets a blemish. Ditnan, we learned on the Mishnah and Tumura. Hifrish chatato ve'avda. If you separate a chatat and it gets lost, and then you separate another one, and now you found the first one, and both of them are in front of you right now. Again, you have a kapara in one of them, but the second one has to die. These are the words of Rabbi. Chachamim say no, it doesn't die. That means when is it going to die? Only after they already got the kapara, and now you found it, then it has to die. But if not, right? If it's going to be kolam shenit kapru ba'alim, if they found it before there was a kapara for the ba'alim, meaning that they didn't bring it yet, so what's going to happen? Roa. So therefore it comes out that according to Chachamim, right, in the case of the two chataot, and now you've got the first chatat and then you have the chalipin, which is going to be the substitute, the replacement, right? What happens? They're both in front of you, and you're going to bring one of them. The second one is ro'ah. By the korban todah, right? What happens? The second one does not need lechem. You told me a general rule. Whenever it's ro'ah, you need lechem. Whenever it's meta, you don't need lechem. Meaning, whenever like the todah would be like a chatat. Yeah. Here, the chatat would be ro'ah, and you told me, right, that what? That you don't need bread. Why don't you need bread? According to Shmuel, if it's ro'ah, you need bread. If it's meta, you don't need bread. Okay? So answers the Gemara, Shmuel kerebi svirale. Shmuel does not hold like the Chachamim. Shmuel holds like Rabbi. What did Rabbi say? Shniya tamut. Says it dies. So therefore it makes sense. So Shmuel holds like Rabbi. Te'amar avuda b'shat afrasha meta. That he says that if it's got lost, right? That means even if it was lost during the time of the afrasha, the chalipin, it's going to be meta as well. So therefore, according to him, it makes sense. That means basically, Shmuel is going according to Rabbi, not according to Chachamim. So says the Gemara, El Roa Rabbi, Hechi Meshkachala. So therefore, according to Rabbi, what's the case of Roa then? It's always going to be meta. So he says, Kravoshia, like Ravoshia. Dama Ravoshia says, Hifrishte chataot l'achrayut. If you separated two chataot for an achrayut, meaning I have to bring a korban chatat. What do? I separate two animals. And I said, just in case this one's not, I got a second one. Mitkaper be'ezemen sheirtzeh. Whichever one that I want, I could use. Vashniya tireh. And the second one is going to be grazing until it gets a blemish. Right? So therefore, even here, according to Rabbi, it's going to graze. It wasn't the chalipin. It wasn't a replacement. From the beginning, I separated two just to make sure that I've got one. Now, if it would be in this case by todah, you don't need the bread and tuna lechem. So therefore, that's the case where, according to Rabbi, it's going to be ro'ah and you do not need lechem. Ela Shmuel Rabbi Shimon tzviralei, but Shmuel holds like Rabbi Shimon. Ta'amar chamesh chataot metot, that there's going to be 5 cases of chataot metot without yotzei min klal. Okay, so these are going to be the 5 cases. Okay, so he comes and he says, right, as follows. So he says Shmuel holds like Rabbi Shimon, and therefore he says kol shebechatat meta, right, you do not need lechem. So says the Gemara, v'har ro'ah Rabbi Shimon lele klal. Says I thought according to ro'ah, according to Rabbi Shimon, you don't have to bring them at all. So answers the Gemara, Shmuel nami chada kamar. Shmuel was also talking about only in one case also. Kol shebechatat meta betodah and tuna lechem. My kamash malan, what does it coming to teach you? La'apukim et Rabbi Yochanan. This is coming to exclude Rabbi Yochanan. Tamar adam mitkaper b'shevach hekdesh. Because according to Rabbi Yochanan, he says a person could be mitkaper with the shevach hekdesh. What was the case of the shevach hekdesh? The child. Because remember, the child, when he sanctified, he didn't sanctify the child. He sanctified the mother. And then it became pregnant and it has the child. So the child is the shevach, the appreciation of the ekdesh. And according to him, if you brought that child, you're going to be tzechovah. So therefore, that's what it means. Adam mitkaper b'shevach ekdesh. Kamashmalan delo. So comes to the issue, the Shmuel holds that it's not so. A person is not going to have a kapara with the child of the ekdesh. So Amar Rabbi Abba says Rabbi Abba, todah v'zolachma. Right? If a person comes and he says, this is the todah, and this is the breads, the avad lechem, and then the bread got lost. Beforehand, we were talking about the animal getting lost. Now we're talking about the breads getting lost. Maybe lechem acher, bring other bread. Avdat todah, if the todah gets lost, and maybe todah acheret, you're not going to bring another todah. My time, what's reasoning? Lechem liglad todah, then todah liglad lechem. The bread comes because of the todah. The todah does not come because of the lechem. Meaning, the main thing is the korban. The bread is an add-on. You understand? So I'm not going to say that the v'nafochu. You understand? Like we always have to remember that. The Amar Rav, and Rav also says, Hifrish maot letodato. What happens if you separate money for your todah? Pe'amul bet, 80b. V'nitotru, right? And now there's leftover of the money. Mevi ba'en lechem. So you're going to bring, right, the breads, right? That means, one more time, you separated money for the todah. You have leftover money, you could use it for the breads, because the breads is an add-on. But if you separated money for the lechme todah, and now you have money left over, you cannot bring the todah. Because when you separate it for something which is subordinate, which is inferior, you cannot now use it for something which is greater. My tama, what's the reasoning? If you're going to tell me it's because of Rav Kahana says, how do you know that the lachme todah are also called the todah? So when it says v'ikriv chalot, and it's talking about the zevach todah, so it's also called the todah. Okay? If so, ipchanami. So if I separated the money for the breads, I could also bring the todah because they're the same thing. Meaning, if I'm going to call them both the todah, so I separated money for the bread, I could also bring it for the todah. So answers the Gemara, no. The lechem ikre todah, the bread is called the todah, but the todah is not called lechem. Meaning, the breads are also called the todah because it comes with the korban todah. But never will you call the todah the bread. Right? Meaning that you say todah. What's a todah include? The todah includes breads and it includes the korban. But you're never going to say that the todah is bread. Okay? Yeah, we got rid of it. That's it.
No, we said we eat it. We don't burn it. It's like it becomes important. Like it doesn't matter.
I don't remember what we said.
Maybe I'm wrong. I'm sorry.
I don't know. Ve'amar Rava, and Rava says, Hifrish todato ve'avda, ve'chazar ve'ifrish acheret tachtea. If right now you're going to separate a todah and it gets lost, and then again you separate another animal instead of it, right? Ve'avda, and it gets lost. Ve'chazar ve'ifrish acheret tachtea. So now imagine, you have 3 animals now. Yeah, one more time. You separated a todah, it got lost. You separate a second one, it got lost again. Now you have 3 of them in front of you. Yeah? נתכפר בראשונה, ושנייה אינה טעונה לחם, ושלישית טעונה לחם. The first one is the korban todah. So you bring it with bread. The second one, you bring it without the bread. The third one, you need bread. Yeah? I don't know why. Let's see. So he says, because he says that the third one is not considered the chalipin of the first one. Meaning, what happened? Now it makes sense. One more time. I've got the original. Yeah, I've got the original. It gets lost. What do? I bring the second one. The second one is a chalipin of the original one. It's a replacement of the original one. This one now gets lost. The third one is not the replacement of the first one. It's a replacement of the second one. So therefore, when I now find all 3 of them, right? When I find all 3 of them, I'm going to bring one. Whichever one that is that I'm going to bring, I'm going to have a kapara and I have to bring the breads. Because that's my korban todah. Chazak u'baruch. The second one, whichever one that I'm bringing, that is not required because we already said that only one of them requires the breads, not the second one. But the third one was never a replacement of the original korban todah. So since it was never original replacement of the first one, only the replacement does not need the breads. But this one, since it was a replacement of the second one, it does require the breads. So that's what it says over here.
Rabbi, in other words, the third one is the korban, the original korban. Therefore, you continue.
No, the first one is the original korban.
No, the third one who came back.
Again, one more time. All 3 of them, you decide which one's which. Fine. But we're talking about number 1, 2, and 3. So korban number 1, whichever of the 3 is going to be your korban. Second one is just the stam, another thing. The third one is going to be the replacement of the second one, not the original one. So therefore, since it's not the replacement of the original one, you do need the breads. So now says the Gemara. Now what happens right now if I didn't take this one? I took the emtzait, meaning one more time. I've got animal A, B, C, or let's make it easier. 1, 2, 3. The first one was my number 1. It got lost. I bring a number 2. The number 2 gets lost. I bring a number 3. So I've got 1, 2, 3. Okay? What happens if I right now come and I bring the second one? So I've got all 3 in front of me, and I say, you know what? I'm going to take the second one. So the emtzait, shtehen into lechem. So now the number 1 and the number 3 do not need the lechem. Why? Because the number 1, I don't need lechem, because since I chose the second one, so the first one does not need it because I already did the todah on the second one. First one. And why don't I need on the third one? Because the third one is a replacement of the second one. Since it was the replacement of the original korban todah, what does it mean the original todah? Meaning like the number 2. So therefore I do not need it. Abaye says, Afilu nitkaper ba'achad men. Even if I'm going to come and I'm going to have a kapara in one of them, shtem, it doesn't matter which one. Shtehen en teunot lechem. You do not require breads. Why? Kulu chalifen dehadade ninhu. They're all chalipin. What do I care? It's all chalipin of everything else. So therefore he comes and he says, you don't need any chalipin. He's saying any type of a substitute, you don't need. So that shita of Abaye is very, very nice because it's all replacements. What do I care which one you're going to decide? The first one, the second one. No. Anything that you do, it's going to be okay. You don't need to bring breads on the other ones. Amar bizera says bizera v'chel inyan chataot. The same halacha would apply to the chataot. Hifrish chatato ve'avda. If you separate a chatat and it gets lost, you separate the second one. Ve'avda gets lost. Now you have a third one. V'nintzu. Now you have all 3 of them. But shloshtam omdot, there are three of the animals in front of your face, which are all kurban chatats. Nitkaper barishona, if you have the kapara in the first chatat, shniya tamut, the second one is going to die, and then the third one is going to be tireh, it's going to get grace. Nitkaper b'shlishit, if you have the kapara in the third one, so the second one is going to die, and the first one is going to grace. Nitkaper b'imtzait, but if you have the kapara in the middle one, shtehen yamutu, both of them have to die. The first one and the third one. So Abaye says, no, the same way that he argued by the Todah, he's going to argue here. Afilu nitkaper b'chamen, it doesn't matter which one, shten yamutu, they always are going to die. Why? Kulu chalipin, they're all chalipin of the same, that's it. My v'chen, so the Gemara asks, what does it mean v'chen linyan chataut? What does it mean v'chen, and also? So he says, I would have thought to say, that over there it's going to be different, because marbe betodotu. I would have thought to say, listen, he just wants to bring more todas. He wants to say thank you more, right? But here, you can't say that you're going to be marbe b'chatat. Remember, a chatat is a sin offering. You can never bring another sin offering, right? A sin offering is something bad. So you can never bring it as an edava. You can bring it as a, by the todah. Listen, I want to say thank you 100 times. Say means more than todah 1,000,000 times. What's the problem? So I wanted to do that. Here, I can't say that. Elmaleh, I would say no. So that's why Kamash Manan, that's why it said about the v'chen. Tani Rebechia. So Rebechia came and he taught. Todah shenitarva betmurata. When you have a todah that gets mixed up with the tmura, so I don't know which one was the todah and which one was the tmura of the todah, right? So umeta achamen, and now one of them dies. Chaverta en la takana. So you don't have a takana, right? Now why? Hechinaver. What are you going to do exactly? Nakriv lechem bahadad, right? If you're going to bring the bread with it, dilma tmurahi. Maybe it's a tmura, and we already said that by the tmura you don't bring lechem. Lo nakriv lechem bahadad. If you don't bring the bread, dilma todah. Maybe it's a todah. So basically, one more time, I've got, remember, the tmura does not require lechem. So the question that we have here is, what is it? One of them, they got mixed up. I don't know which one's the todah, which one's the tmura. The tmura does not get bread. The todah does. One of them dies. I don't know which one died. So now what are you going to do? If you're going to bring the bread, maybe it's the tmura. If you're not going to bring the bread, maybe it's the todah. So hechidami, so what's the case? If he said, hare alai todah, it's on me the todah, Lo sagya de lo maiti lebe'achrina velechem. So I have to bring it. Velema. So why don't you just say ihach de kaima tmurahi? The one that is here is the tmura. Hatodah ve'alachma. So then make a t'nai, make a condition. If this is the todah, so this is the todah, this is the bread. And if the other one is the todah, this is the bread, and that's going to be lachrayut. So says the Gemara, lo tzicha. What was the case? Damar harez zo todah. Meaning like this: if you say it's on me, I can make that condition because it's on me. It's not on the animal. So if it's not an animal, I can make a condition, whichever one was the todah, whichever one was the tmura, and that's it. Fine. But if I say it on the animal, it's not on me. It's on the animal. Maybe this animal was a tmura, and this one was a todah. Maybe the other way around. So once it's on the animal, you have a problem. Okay, siman. Limudim midat Allah sheyesh shachen drama. Right, all the siman. This is the mnemonic. Okay, amru. So the first one is the limudim. Right. So it says limudim nifnei Rabbi. Right, velaiti. So we're going to come and we're going to say, why don't you bring lechem, velema, and say, iach de kaima todah. If this is the todah, so there's the bread, and if not, it goes to chulin. So says the Gemara, amalu v'chimechnisin chulin lazara. Since when can you bring chulin to the azara? What type of a t'nai is that? Again, we're trying to make a condition to get out of the problem. But how do you make a condition that it's going to go to chulin? If it goes to chulin, how's it in the azara? You're not allowed to bring chulin into the azara. So how does it go to the azara? You're trying to make, no, if it's a todah, so this is the bread. But if it's not a todah, then what? Then it's chulin. You can't bring it to the azara then. So says the Gemara, so bring the animal, bring an extra animal in the bread, and say, if this was the todah, the tmura, so this is a todah and this is lachma. And the other one was a todah, so this is a todah, this is lachma, and then this one is going to be only a shlamim. So says the Gemara, he tells him, Nishum de kemamaet bachilat shlamim. He says, I cannot do that. You know why? Shlamim. How long do you have to eat a shlamim? Shnei yamim velayla echad. 2 days and 1 night. So that is 1 day, 1 night. So if I'm going to make such a condition, yeah. So when I'm going to make such a condition, I'm minimizing the eating of the shlamim. Because I just keilu made a condition to make the shlamim like a todah. By doing that, I'm minimizing the time that I could eat the shlamim. We don't do that. Because that means it could become notar, it could become leftovers much easier. We don't want to do those things. We don't want to come and start doing things which are going to cause that I'm being mima'et in achilat de shlamim. A third way how to do it. Amar Levi the Rabbi. So it says the Levi to Rabbi, right? So the first one was limudim. Then it was going to be midat Allah. Okay, let's see each one. Okay, so the first one, right, was limudim. Oh, the first three questions is all limudim. Fine. Next one he comes and he says, "Veleiti be'ema velechem." Bring a be'ema, an extra be'ema and lechem. Veleiman say, if this is a tmura, right? So then this is a tudah and the bread. And if the one in front of me is the tudah, this is the bread. And then the other one is going to be an extra tudah. It's a mutar de tudah. Mutar de tudah does not need bread. And then I save myself. Meaning, one more time, I've got the animal in front of me. I don't know if this animal is a tudah or the tmura. Tudah needs bread. Tmura does not need bread. I don't know what to do. I'm going to bring another one. Instead of making it like a shlamim, because we said that was a problem, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say like this. If this is the real todah, so this is the bread for that todah. And if this is a tmura and it doesn't need bread, this is the todah and this is the bread. But what happens right now if this is the todah? So what is this animal then? This is called mutar todah. Mutar todah does not need bread. So says the Gemara, Amarle, it says, Kimdume ani shen lo moach bekod kodo. Yeah? Remember that many times, even throughout Gemara, and we're talking about in Bavel, right? Many times he used to come and he used to speak a little bit sharp. Yeah? So he comes and he says, by the way, this guy doesn't have a brain in his head. Yeah, he doesn't have moach bekod kodo. V'chima frishim techila lemotarot. He says, I don't understand what's your svara. He says, did you ever see that lechatchila we could come and separate a todat, a motar todah, like an extra todah that doesn't require bread? Well, because this is what you're doing. You're doing this kilu lechatchila. Where did you see such a thing that we do such a thing? We don't do such a thing. So because of that, obviously what? Forget about it. We don't have this. Yeah, that's how he's going to come and he's going to get rid of this answer.